Perhaps the cheapest Valentine's date is the old Netflix and chill, right?
Yeah, we do a lot of that.
New research shows 51% of those surveyed say sharing your Netflix password means the relationship is serious. I think this is hilarious. But 17% said they would not share their Netflix password until they got engaged.
Or their PIN codes. Dr. Helen Fisher has a new book out. It's called The Anatomy of Love, A Natural History of Mating, Marriage, and Why We Stray. She's the chief scientist advisor for Match and a biological anthropologist at the Kinsey Institute. And Dr. Fisher is with us here. Thank you so much for coming by.
I'm delighted.
So this is a fascinating subject, and Jamie and I were talking about this all morning long, and actually she thought I was being cynical about something. I'll ask you about that. Yeah. But can two people really fall in love through this Netflix and chill culture?
Absolutely. You know, when you're cuddling with somebody, you're driving up the oxytocin system in the brain, which creates feelings of attachment. And then if you go into the bedroom, of course, you're going to drive up the dopamine system, which is associated with feelings of intense romantic love.
Just kidding.
Well, there's a lot of things, but that's what gives you that joy, that feeling. But, you know, you were talking about Valentine's Day. You know, the most important thing in life is finding somebody to pass on your DNA to tomorrow. So, you know, we're fighting for life's greatest prize, which is a mating partner. And this is why people are spending so much on Valentine's Day. I mean, they really have this opportunity now to express some profound, important feelings for somebody. And in fact, if you don't get that expression from somebody, it's a real point in a relationship, a breaking or escalating point.
I broke up with a guy because I got him a card and something nice, and I got nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like, what? Yeah, no.
Cool.
You know, sorry.
But that match, I want to talk about. You guys did this huge survey of like 5,500 people looking at all the different behaviors and things that people do in dating, and some of them are really. Some of them are comical. Some of them you can gather some useful information if you're out there dating. Can we pull up some of the full screens? I want to show you where people are going for dates online and to friends. So what they eat on the first date or where they're taking someone actually could get you a second date?
What we wanted to know was, first of all, we poll the American population, not the Match members. So this is a representative sample based on the U.S. Census, and it's called Singles in America. It's the largest, I think, in America and the world. We now have data on over 30,000 people, and we ask them a whole lot of questions. But this year, we wanted to see what gets you to the second date. You know, so many academics focus on the first date, but that's just a look-see.
Right.
The second date is when things really begin to happen. So we compared those who just got to the first date and those who didn't, who got all the way to the second. And among the crazy things we found was that sushi, but you know, there's a reason, anthropological reason. Sharing food, sharing protein is a hallmark of the human animal. I mean, gorillas don't do it. Giraffes and elephants don't do it. We share our food.
Well,
I have to admit that that's what my girlfriend, our first date was cocktails, second date was sushi.
And really?
Yeah, I mean,
sushi is high protein, it's sophisticated, it's expensive, and it actually has omega-3 in it, some of the fatty fishes, which gives you enhanced circulation and alertness.
All right, so let me throw this monkey wrench, because this is I don't know if you're familiar with Jared Diamond's work. He did a book called Why is Sex Fun? The Evolution of Human Sexuality. And one of the things he posited is that mammals, you were talking about gorillas, he believes that one of the reasons that there's sometimes a conflict in our biology, and that's one of the reasons why humans do not indicate, female humans do not indicate when they are in estrus, because we need to be in a monogamous relationship to ensure that we can procreate. And so how do you feel about that? Is that biologically speaking the way we're wired? Well, it's not about love?
I wrote my PhD dissertation on that very issue, so it's something I do know about it. Yeah, the human female has lost her period of heat. Like dogs and cats have a period of heat. They have sex when they're in heat, and they don't have sex when they're not. So I think actually it's for two reasons. To form that pair bond so that people like you hang around all month long. But also so that we can be adulterous. I'm not promoting that in any way, but the bottom line is the human animal has a tremendous drive to fall in love and rear our children as a team. But we also have a propensity towards adultery. And, you know, having silent ovulation would actually promote both. So.
I want to go back because we've been talking a lot about politics.
Yeah.
And the survey found, depending on who you support.
This is important.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about what you found out.
Well, one of the things we found out is, you know, have sushi on the first date, but also talk about politics. Because 25% of singles will not go out with somebody who is not registered to vote, and 35% will not go out with somebody who doesn't have any political opinion. So actually, you know, and I think that's really important because you're expressing your values, and down the road, as some of this intense elation wears wears off, you're going to have to cope with this person every day, and you want to share some of your values with them.
You also, in your book, the subtitle, And Why We Stray, and there was an interesting line in there that I thought, that I found sort of profound, which is that the people who've had broken homes or marriages, parents who've divorced, are more likely to stray versus those who lived in a stable home. And I don't know, that was on.
So I was wondering, for adultery.
You're right. Men and women who are securely attached to their parents during childhood tend to build more stable partnerships and engage in less infidelity. But it's not preordained and it's not destiny, right?
That's really important. You know, I mean, you can be predisposed to alcoholism and give up drinking. You know, I think it's important to know what some of your predispositions are, so that then you can overcome them. You know, one of the things that I found interesting in this Netflix study was that men were much more. It was much more important to the man that the woman share his interest in the same sorts of movies and TV shows than women. And I began to realize that it's, I think, a difference in intimacy. Women get intimacy from face-to-face talking. We swivel until we do the anchoring gaze and we talk. I think that comes from millions of years of holding that baby in front of your face, cajoling it, reprimanding it, educating it with words. Men get intimacy from side-by-side doing. And I think it comes from millions of years of sitting behind that bush on the grasslands of Africa trying to hit that buffalo in the head with a rock. You know, you can't be yakking with your neighbor.
You quote movie quotes to your buddy, your caveman buddies.
Yes, and so you know, they face their enemies. They sat side by side with friends. And I think this is one of the reasons it's more important to men to be sitting side by side, doing that cuddling, not talking, and sharing that intimacy to men.
That is so important, Doctor, because that is part of the Netflix culture. You know, you're watching a movie together, and it's like, well, I don't want to talk through the movie. I want to watch the movie. A little cuddle, but
a lot of cuddle,
a lot of silence.
Dr. Helen Fisher, thank you so much for being with us. Very fun conversation this morning.